Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Dhena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah.
We'd like to welcome you to this very, very auspicious function where these candidates for initiation, and first and second initiation actually, will be taking their vows today. The vows for the do's and the don'ts. It's called rules and regulations. The do's are to chant minimum 16 rounds. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We heard one Mataji this morning, I believe she's a Prabhupada disciple. She said that when she took her vows, Prabhupada said, why only 16? Minimum. Anyway, we'll hear more about that later. And the don'ts, we all know. Sometimes I repeat them because when the disciples come forward before their spiritual master, even they have a PhD, or two PhDs, sometimes they're nervous. And they forget the 4 rules they're going to follow because they're nervous. But it's actually okay to be nervous in front of your authority. It shows there's some awe and reverence there. And if that awe and reverence is there, then you'll take whatever your authority says seriously. So it's okay to be nervous today, don't worry. And we do try to remember those 4 things, it's important. And then we'll proceed. We're just waiting for our illustrious sannyasis. His Holiness Achananda Swami has just arrived in a flower airplane. Here also will be joining. Give him a big round of applause. Because there's so many fortunate souls today taking probably the most important, this is the most important event in their lives, not only in this life, but since they left the spiritual world, isn't it? Because this is the turning point. And you take shelter of your spiritual master and you receive his blessings and the blessings of the entire Guru Parampara, you'll feel yourself like it's a tsunami of mercy just pushing you upwards. And you've been following, and now when you take this step forward, you're going up. So it's a big, nice day. It's like you're going down, and then it's a big smile. You go back up to the spiritual world, so we congratulate you on your vows today. And I'd like to thank all the devotees who have come as well to support. I'm really impressed. All of you must have lots of friends and well-wishers who come to honor this day. We're going to streamline the program a little bit because we don't want it to miss any of the chanting of Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And one of the illustrious spiritual preceptors here today is His Grace Vaisesika Prabhu and Guru Mata. And he has a kirtan this afternoon. It's a very, very popular kirtan with all the youth at ISD, so we don't want to go over time. So what we're going to do is there's just going to be one speaker this afternoon. That'll be Vaisesika Prabhu. If we all spoke, it would go on for hours because we all like to glorify the holy name. And this is mostly Harinam Diksha initiation. So I'm going to turn the microphone over to our illustrious Purohit, our priest. He's a famous Vaishnava historian. Charatma Prabhu from Alachua. Anyone down there in Florida, if there's a ceremony, they call him up immediately. He can do it blindfolded. He does it so well, and he does all the mantras and so forth and so on. So he's going to explain how we'll proceed, and then we will proceed. And yes, God bless all of you. Thank you, and thank all of you for coming. Hare Krishna.
Hold this for just a second.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Separate them from their six.
I didn't get that.
Hare Krishna. So the gurus have now taken some kalpa vow for performing the ceremony. They've asked me to do so on their behalf. We'll now ask Vaisesika Prabhu to speak. After that, each of the gurus will invite their respective disciples up and give them their beads. After that, they give their vows, give them their beads and their names, and then everyone will come back and sit down. At that point, we'll change the neck beads, give out garlands, and say Achman for purification, and then begin the fire.
I offer my respectful obeisances to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and to all of you, because you are Vaishnavas, and therefore are the most worshipable in the three worlds. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Also, I'm speaking now on the order of His Holiness Indradumna Maharaj and with the blessings of Sachinandana Maharaj, Giriraj Maharaj, Vibindra Prabhu. And it's a great honor to be here tonight. We'll start with a request from His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that all the initiates today will be empowered to always remember the holy name and keep the holy name going on their lips constantly, and they may be empowered to spread the Sankirtan movement all over the world. Everyone who agrees with these sentiments in part or in whole, please say Hare Krishna. This ceremony is actually part of the Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition, although sometimes people think that there's only a Diksha aspect. But Harinam initiation has been encouraged by our acharyas, including Jiva Goswami, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur in their various writings. In fact, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur goes as far as saying that if a Vaishnav guru is available, from whom to accept the holy name and under whose shelter continue chanting the holy name, and one doesn't accept that, then he says this is one of the offenses against the holy name, which is disobeying the orders of the spiritual master. So there's a mood of chanting the holy name, which means Trinada Api Sunichena, that one should do it under guidance and feeling the shelter of Krishna through a Vaishnava representative. Also today, some devotees, which ones are taking second initiation? This is a big step also, and one that has a great significance in the system what Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes as Pancha Samskar in his essay about initiation, in which he says there are 5 aspects to initiation, starting with tapa, means tapasya, and that one begins to feel that the material world is not my home, and therefore one begins to turn away from the material world and towards the spiritual world, and giving up some things that one had previously cherished for the sake of making spiritual advancement. And after that, he said the next stage is called Pandra, which means that one actually shows oneself as a Vaishnava. Pandra means Urva Pundra, or the tilak markings that one puts on one's body, to show externally that one's a Vaishnav or Vaishnavi, and is actually displaying to the world that I'm moving in this circle under the shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And after that comes Nama. Nama means that one not only accepts a vow to chant the holy names of the Lord, but also accepts a new name, particularly Das for the men and Dasi for the women, which is a very coveted moniker. Means even devotees like Advaita Acharya, Nityananda Balaram are eager for this designation, to be a Das or a Dasi. I remember the first time I got a Back to Godhead magazine and I saw the names of the devotees. I noticed they were all Das or Dasi, and I was thinking, how do you get one of those? Well, you're getting them, or already have them, and are taking second initiation. But also, as one takes the name, one's assuming a new identity, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu speaks to Haridas Thakur and Sanatana Goswami in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. When one takes initiation, it's not that one is in the same position as one was before one takes initiation. Rather, one no longer has a material body. One doesn't have a siddha deha or a perfected body, but one has a sadhaka deha, which means that basically you're on the team and your full intention is given to surrendering to Krishna. Diksha Kali Bhakta Kari Atma Samarpan, She Kali Atma Kari Kari Atma Sam. Diksha Kali. At the time of Diksha, then Krishna accepts that person who's Atma Samarpana, who's surrendering him or herself at the lotus feet of the Lord as good as himself in category. So when one takes the name, one takes a vow also to chant the holy names. And I oftentimes liken this assuming a new name to what we have here in the United States called the Federal Witness Protection Program, which means that the government protects its witnesses by giving them a new name, new location. So in a similar way, if you keep under the shelter of this name and the spirit of it, then Maya won't be able to find you either. The taking it, okay, yeah. The taking of a name or the vow to chant the holy names is mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam just after Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted initiation from his spiritual master Srila Ishvara Puri. He became mad. And he came back to his spiritual master for clarification and said, "Did you give me the right mantra? Because this has driven me a little crazy." And then his spiritual master said, "Very good." And then he quoted a verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam, which he said is the essence of the meaning of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Evam vrata swapriya nama kirtya jatana rago jita chuta uche hasatyato rotiti roti gayati unmadavam ritati loka bhayaha. Which means when one takes a vow, evam vrata swa, to chant the holy names of the Lord, as one continues gradually one's heart becomes druta, or melted. At that time, the mellows of devotional service begin to manifest within the heart because of the influence of the internal potency of the Lord. And then one becomes unconcerned with social convention. And one may act like a mad person. This is what Srila Ishwar Puri's assessment of the situation of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So there's a very important stage, taking the name and a vow to chant the name. And then comes mantra after nama, which means one accepts the esoteric mantras which have been passed down through great sages, revealed in meditation. And these are meant to assist us in chanting the holy name of the Lord. So we can develop a more personal understanding of God. And when we chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, we can actually give full attention. We can chant with our hearts by taking the help of these esoteric mantras which describe Krishna in various stages of our relationship with him, beginning with Sambandha, Abhideya, and then Prayojana. And then finally there's Yaga, which is the fifth of the Pancha Samskar, which means that one can then, after second initiation, enter into the worship of the deity. Only those who have taken second initiation are allowed to worship the deity in a formal sense, meaning using the Mula mantras and doing all the detailed worship. So the chanting Hare Krishna is sufficient to achieve full perfection in life. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur comments in his essay that means you're chanting with a certain quality. That means chanting without offenses. If one chants without offenses, then one can make advancement. Otherwise, as we all know, unless one's trying to avoid offenses and organizing one's life around this principle to avoid offenses, it's very difficult not only to make advancement, but even to continue chanting. So, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, and not only should we chant, but we should be very attentive to avoiding the offenses. The first offense is to blaspheme devotees who have dedicated their lives to propagating the holy name of the Lord. And the seventh offense is to commit sinful activities on the strength of chanting the holy name, even after understanding so many instructions on the matter. I mention these two particularly because in his commentary in the 6th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that out of the 10 offenses, these two are especially egregious. That the other offenses can be mitigated over time. As the Padma Purana says, Nama aparada yuktanam, namam yeva harantyagam avishrani prayuktani, nam yevarta karani cha. If you continue chanting, then gradually the other offenses will diminish. But if you commit these two offenses, offending Vaishnavas or sinning on the strength of chanting, he says, one has to actually suffer for that in order to mitigate those two offenses. So one might then think, I'll give particular attention to these two. I've noticed that devotees who go out of their way to avoid making aparadhas to other Vaishnavas are, they're rare, but they're also noticeable. And when somebody's actually avoiding in conversation, even subtly, goes out of his or her way to not participate in any kind of degradation of Vaishnavas, either directly or by, was it Shakespeare said, damnation by faint praise? So it's a better idea to stay on the safe side and not criticize Vaishnavas, and especially not in writing, and especially not on the internet, because that's eternal. The other offenses are important to not just recite every morning, but to actually enter into the spirit of and see how one could arrange one's life in such a way that one can avoid them. It's mentioned also that maintaining material attachments even after understanding so many instructions in the matter, if you consider that maintenance is actually difficult. Because Vishnu creates, Brahma creates, and Lord Shiva destroys through Tamogun. And isn't it always said that maintenance is more difficult? That's Vishnu's job. So if you consider maintaining material attachments, it actually takes a lot of work. So in initiation, you have permission, full permission to give up any maintenance duties of material attachments. As a friend of ours who raises orchids once said, the trick to raising orchids is tender, loving neglect. That you don't fuss over them too much. You put them in a place that's okay and you just leave them alone. So don't maintain material attachments, because that will hold us back in the chanting of the holy name. And why do it anyway? You're on your way to the spiritual world. As Jayadvaita Maharaj mentioned in his class the other morning, at a certain point of life, you have full permission to ditch the whole thing, he said. So feel free. The chanting of the holy name is mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam as having full potency to deliver us from the material world. Devahuti, famous verse which is quoted again and again. In fact, there's two together. But she says, Aho patashwa pachato gariyanya jiva gre vartate namatubhyam te pusta paste juhuvu sasna arya brahmana churnama grananti ete. How it is, she says, that if someone chants the holy name of the Lord even a little bit, just with the tip of his or her tongue, just says Hare Krishna. That person is now considered to have already performed ritual sacrifices, gone to all holy places of pilgrimage, has studied the Vedas and so forth, and is qualified to perform Vedic sacrifice. Of course, it depends on the quality of the chanting, but that is the power of the chanting of the holy name can deliver us from the material world. And if one simply leans into it and takes it very seriously, the process of chanting Hare Krishna, then Krishna will provide all intelligence how to make advancement in devotional service. For those who are taking second initiation, the Shastra, especially in our line, the Goswamis, Jiva Goswami has included in his Sandarbha, it's Hari Bhakti Vilas. He says, Yata Kanchanatam Kamsam, Yata Kanchanatam Rasa, can I have the verse? Yata Kanchanatam Kamsam Rasa Vidhanataha Tata Diksha Vidhanena Dvijatam Jayatendranam. So here he compares the Diksha, the process of Diksha, Divyam Jnanam, means there's a way in which through accepting the mantras, the second initiation, one's entering more deeply within the process of transcendental knowledge. And he says that this is just like the transformation that the alchemists would use when they had a formula. So they would be able to turn ordinary bell metal into gold. Of course, on a morning walk, Tamal Krishna Maharaj asked Prabhupada if they could have the formula. He wanted to know what that was. And Prabhupada mentioned that it was lost in antiquity. But the fact is that the Goswamis mention this, that when one goes through the proper channel, that is, follows the system which is set up by the Lord, Mahat Kritena, as mentioned in the Bhagavatam, then it pleases the Lord and there's a transformation that takes place. And just as bell metal is turned into gold through the process of alchemy, and I won't go into the details, there's a way in which by taking the second initiation, one's also transformed. And this transformation makes a new start for the person who's taking initiation. Divyam Jnanam Yato Dadyat Papas Sankasha Shankshayam. That all sins are destroyed because of accepting this process of Diksha. So Srila Prabhupada, in his lectures on initiation, would usually comment on the verse Oma Pavitra Pavitrova sarvavastam kato viva. Yasmarat pundarikaksham sababhyayantara shuchihi. Which means that whatever condition of life one's in now, pure or impure, if one remembers the lotus-eyed personality of Godhead, then one will become purified completely by that process. And he would go on to say that everyone's in an impure state here in the material world because of the influence of the material nature. But there are no solutions materially. In the modern world, we look for many different kinds of solutions. In fact, since the beginning of time, everyone's looking for a way to stave off trouble and invite good fortune. Correct? No one's praying for bad fortune. However, there are no measures that can actually complete this from the material level. And therefore, Prabhupada would quote from the Bhagavad Gita, where he'd say that the only possibility to attain this state of purity and go above the three modes of material nature, he would say, Daiva hiesha gunamayi, mama maya duratyaya, mameva ye prapadante, maya metantarantite. By surrendering to Krishna. Then Krishna says one can cross beyond Maya. And in one lecture he says, going beyond Maya is very, 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 he did it 6 times, difficult. But if you surrender to Krishna, then it becomes easy. So this initiation today, in the simple form, is an active surrender to Krishna. It's the authorized process, which Krishna himself enacted. He went through it. He does it in all his avatars. And especially Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted initiation from his spiritual master. It's authorized in all the scriptures. It's recommended through the Bhagavat Marg and the Srimad Bhagavatam. And through the Pancharatric initiation that you're taking for second initiation, this is authorized by our acharyas as well, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, as I documented, and Jiva Goswami. So you're making the most positive step possible. And then Prabhupada would go on to say, finally, that initiation means beginning. And when one begins the path by making this active surrender to the Lord, then one has to be very careful and vigilant about following the 4 rules and regulations. And these regulations, the 4 regulations, help to keep one above the fray of the material world. Prabhupada said, these are the standard of material life, breaking the 4 regular principles. So it puts us apart when we follow them very, very carefully, noticeably. And then he would say that breaking any of these regular principles means trying to start a fire while pouring water on it. So we congratulate all of you, and this is a very auspicious occasion to be here amidst the constant chanting of the holy name, to accept vows at this time, and with all these Vaishnavas here in attendance, with goodwill pouring from their hearts on your behalf. And this is what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted, and what Srila Prabhupada had specifically in mind as a mission, was to increase the number of Vaishnavas. So thank you very much for surrendering to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and officially joining this movement and helping to bring many thousands or millions of more people into the fold of the Krishna consciousness movement. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
How do you want to do it? You want to do that? Well, we can start here and work our way down. You should accept first, but I think your group has a practice for the kids camp or the ISP.
There are a few fortunate
No, we don't have any practice. We're okay.
still have cell phone
Have a
reception.
kids camp.
Okay.
So they wanted Vrindavan's initiation. They wanted to see.
Then Mara should go first.
If you're one of those fortunate people and you have a cell phone, please sign up
What?
at this
Do a lot of ISV.
ISV.
But do we have time?
That's not important.
Oh, ISV.
Punch in and turn it off. So we'll start with you.
I think Mars is first.
Oh, you're going to start. However
ISV.
you all want to do it. So as your name is called, for your first initiation, please come forward to your respective guru, offer your obeisances, and then you'll follow their instructions from there.
So as was mentioned, each of the spiritual masters will call disciples forward one by one, and then you'll make your vows for your spiritual master, and then you begin your peace and your name. And then after all the disciples have been called and so forth, then we'll turn the ceremony over to Jara Prabhu, who will do the Ajamanian at that time, and the garlands and the neck beads, etc. I'm the least qualified, but I've been asked to call the, I have two candidates for initiation, and the first one is Vrindavan Das, who can come forward. We're calling him forward because, he has a big fan club here. And a lot of the kids that have come to see his initiation here, they have a program at the kids' place or something. They're going to go into kirtan, so they have to leave very soon. So, and we're happy that we've called him forward first. And often, what are the 4 rules and regulations that you promise to follow for the rest of your life? And how many rounds minimum will you chant on your japa beads every day? You can take the mic.
I vowed to chant at least 16 rounds every day, and I vowed to follow the 4 regulative principles, which are no meat eating, which includes egg and fish, no gambling, no illicit sex, and no intoxication. And I humbly pray to the Lordships that I could serve Prabhupada's movement in the mood of servant of the Lordships.
We're very happy to accept you as our duly initiated disciple, and we will do everything in our power to bring you to the lotus feet of the founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, our beloved Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada's name means he whose at feet sit all the masters. So he's delivering all of us back home, back to Godhead. So I'm happy to help you be in touch with the Guru Parampara. Someone may think, or some persons may think, it's a little unusual. You're only 11 years old, but you don't act like an ordinary 11-year-old boy in any way, means, or manner, and everyone knows that, and that's why they're supporting you today. Krishna mentions or states in the Bhagavad Gita that the unsuccessful yogi or devotee, if they don't finish up the process of Krishna consciousness, they'll take birth again. He gives civil indications into a family of wealthy merchants, etc., when one doesn't have to struggle for life but can continue the yoga practice. Or into a family of transcendentalists, which means Vaishnavas. And he says that verily such a birth is rare. And then he says something very interesting, that while in that family one is attracted to the principles of yoga without even trying. It's just come spontaneous. So it's come very early in your life, your sincerity and your dedication to Guru and Gauranga, and your willingness to follow the principles and chant Hare Krishna. It usually comes out a little bit later in life, and we offer initiation a little bit later, but we're offering it to you with great confidence because we know you're sincere. And you stuck to your chanting of 16 rounds for a long time. And 11, that's a sign of sincerity. We want to honor that. And as we said many times during this past couple of days, we really want our youth to succeed because they're the future. And especially we want leaders amongst them. So you're a young man, intelligent, you're being well educated, and you're very good devotees. So we hope that one day in our absence you'll take up the mantle and you'll be a leader in Krishna consciousness, and you'll preach all over the world and make many devotees and continue the great legacy that Srila Prabhupada established in this great country of America, other places around the world. So we're giving you this in great confidence. And you're taking initiation in front of all these great souls who are giving you their blessings, and all the Vaishnavas as well. We're going to change the name a little bit. It's a really unique name. I was helped in getting this name by Hari Parshad Prabhu, who's on the GBC Shastric Advisory Committee. Whenever I have anything to ask about philosophy or history, he's the one I ask. So together we put this wonderful name, which he says is there in Shastra. I'll just read the meaning first. There's two meanings to this name. I don't want to take too much time, but you know, it's unique. 11-year-old. Sadhu means beautiful, and Vrindavan refers to the Vrindavan forest. So Sadhu Vrindavan Das means servant of the beautiful forest of Vrindavan. Another meaning is Sadhu Vrinda means a group of sadhus, and Avana means protection. So Sadhu Vrindavan Das can also mean always protected in spiritual life by the sadhus. So, from this day forth, your name shall be Sadhu Vrindavan Das.
साधु वृंदावन प्रभु की इस ग्रेट साधु वृंदावन प्रभु की साधु वृंदावन प्रभु की
Servant of the beautiful Vrindavan forest, or always protected by the sadhus of Vrindavan. Alexander, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare.
Dear Maharaj, and all of you, thank you very much for the great opportunity to be here, to be in this wonderful family. So I feel so happy.
You look happy.
So I owe to chanting, please, the 16 rounds every day. There's no interruption. There's maximum attention. So I owe to following 4 regular principles. So no illicit sex, no meeting, no eating meat, no fish, no egg, no intoxication, and no gambling. So
Thank you.
thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
So
We are very happy to accept you as our duly initiated disciple, and we will be very happy to connect you with the great lineage of spiritual teachers. When you take initiation into this sampradaya, it's understood you get the mercy of all the acharyas going all the way back to the Adi Guru of Krishna. You will feel this in your spiritual life, and you use those blessings to spread the good fortune of Krishna consciousness everywhere. We'll give you a name that you can remember to share good fortune and preach. Your name means servant of one whose only shelter is Gora, Lord Chaitanya. Wow. From this day forth, you should be known as Gora Sharanadas.
thank you, Maharaj. Thank you. I'm so happy. I promise to follow and help to spread Krishna consciousness in the world. So I do everything what I can, and to please my Guru Maharaj and Shashika Prabhu also. So because I live close to him, and so I used to go to the Vaisesika temple. Yeah. So
Thank you.
Sharon Das ki. Jai. Sharon Das ki. Jai. Sharon Das ki.
Hare Krishna. Krishna, it comes out of your pores. That's good. I request Bhakti Nana to come forward to take sacred vows. So, what are the four rules and regulations which you promise to keep? Yes. Wonderful. She said it right. So, how many rounds will you chant each day? Good, good. Your name is Aruna Radha Devi Dasi. This means Shrimati Radharani, who is like the morning sun. When the sun rises in the morning, the Aruna, she gives so much hope. All those who were suffering in darkness, when the morning sun arises, great hope is arising simultaneously. So Shrimati Radharani has been called also Triloka Shoka Harini, she who removes the shoka, the misery of the three worlds. And your name is the Dasi of such merciful Shrimati Radharani. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Giriraj Swami Maharaj ki.
His Holiness Indra Maharaj was inquiring about Aruna Radha Devi Dasi, and I said she is a very talented illustrator. There is this beautiful illustrations, like here you see the Guru sitting with the disciple on the banks of the ocean of samsara and giving the disciple the instructions how to cross the ocean on the boat of the holy name. That is all in this book. All the illustrations are made by Aruna Radha Devi. It's really just the illustrations are worth the book. I mean, I'm not making advertisement here. Really not, really. This, the devotee is making a garland of the holy name. You know, Mahaprabhu made a garland of the holy name, and the thread is prema.
So here this is illustrated artfully, and so many others. A new style of art, an evocative art. You look at it and something happens in the heart, hopefully. Good. So, I gave you already one copy. Keshava. How many rounds minimum do you promise to chant every day?
I will do 16 rounds Maharaj every day for the rest of my life.
What are the 4 regulating principles that you promise to follow?
No intoxication, no illicit sex, no gambling, and
I told you. You have a PhD.
Start over.
Look at me.
Take a deep breath.
no illicit sex, no gambling, no intoxication, and no measles.
So far from his mind, it couldn't even enter. So Keshava, as the other devotee of the initiated, he's the son of devotee parents, who are also disciples of mine. And his parents are Gopal Raj and Tulsi Priya in South Africa. And now he's based in Washington, Potomac. So on behalf of Srila Prabhupada, I'm pleased to accept you as my duly initiated disciple. And henceforth you will be known as Sada Sundar Keshava. Means Keshava, who's always beautiful. You're the servant of Keshava, who's always beautiful.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you so much. Thank you for accepting me.
And Ravika.
His Grace Sada Sundar Keshava Prabhu ki
His Grace Sada Sundar Keshava Prabhu ki His Grace Sada Sundar Keshava Prabhu ki
So this is Gandharvika, and her parents are also devotees in Mauritius, Giridhari Prabhu and Karunika Mataji. So, what are the 4 principles that you promise to follow every day for the rest of your life and beyond?
No meat eating, no fish, no eggs, no intoxication, no gambling, and no illicit sex.
And how many rounds do you promise to chant minimum?
I promise to chant a minimum of 16 rounds every day for the rest of my life and beyond.
Okay. Is there anything else you would like to say on this auspicious occasion in this August assembly?
I'd just like to say that I promise and I vow to be loyal to Srila Prabhupada's ISKCON, and I promise to never let go of your lotus feet because I know I'll always be safe.
On behalf of Srila Prabhupada and the Guru Parampara, I'm pleased to accept you as my duly initiated disciple. And henceforth you shall be known as Gandharvika Sundari Dasa.
गंधर्विका सुंदरी माता जी की जय। गंधर्विका सुंदरी माता जी की जय।
Gandharvika is a name for Srimati Radharani, in her artistic future, so, and Sundari means beautiful. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Oh, Silicon Valley.
Rama Hare Hare. Well, ever since we've come together, I've heard so many accolades from those who have been around you, and not the least of which, as it's come closer to initiation time, from the devotees who know and love you. You've served for decades as the headmistress of the Sunday school and have showed your selfless nature in devotional service. I'm particularly honored today to be here and to be able to initiate you. And so maybe you could tell all of us what kind of vows you came to make today.
I won't eat meat, including fish and eggs, no intoxication, no illicit sex, and no gambling.
And any other things like?
No exercise.
Yeah.
Try and be the best Vaishnavi I can.
Okay.
Without criticizing and being humble.
And how about rounds? How many rounds would you like to chant?
Chant at least 16 rounds a day.
Okay, fantastic. Really nice. Thank you very much. And please try to systematically read Prabhupada's books, because as he says in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, that you have to have a good spiritual diet to survive. And by reading Prabhupada's books systematically, making sure that you read all of them as often as possible, then you'll not just survive, but you'll thrive. So, following the eternal principle of parampara, taking Srila Prabhupada's and Lord Chaitanya's order to expand the Sankirtan movement as my life and soul, and depending on their mercy, the mercy of the previous acharyas, and all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord who are like desire trees. I'm exceedingly pleased to accept you as my disciple, and therefore grand disciple of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and a member of the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. May all of the previous acharyas and the ocean of mercy, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, shower you with their grace. I hereby joyfully award you the name Shobha Radhe Devi Dasi. Avinash Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Everyone from San Jose.
Abhinash, Prabhu, ever since I've met you, I've found you to be very sincere, both you and your wife Vrinda, and you've been doing pioneering preaching work in an area where there's not a lot of brick and mortar infrastructure and huge assemblies of devotees, but you showed your sincerity, not only reading Prabhupada's books, distributing them, following the regular principles for some time now. So it's come to this, and this is a very exciting moment for me to see you move forward. So please tell all the Vaishnavas, and now the fire has appeared, Prabhupada's here in his portrait, what vows you've come here to make today.
Thank you for accepting me, Guru Maharaj. I vow to follow the 4 regularity principles, that is no meat eating, including fishes and meat, and no intoxication, no illicit sex, and no gambling. And I vow to chant minimum of 16 rounds every day for the rest of my life and follow Srila Prabhupada's mission for the rest of my eternity.
Thank you very much. We need many more like you to come and help spread the Krishna consciousness movement. Thank you for giving your life for this cause of the mission. And please systematically read Prabhupada's books, because if you do that, then you'll save yourself from so much trouble, and your intelligence will always be informed about how to make good decisions. Is that all right?
Yes.
Thank you. Following the eternal principle of parampara, taking Srila Prabhupada's and Lord Chaitanya's order to expand the Sankirtan movement as my life and soul, and depending on their mercy, the mercy of the previous acharyas and all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord who are like desire trees, I'm exceedingly pleased to accept you as my disciple, and therefore a grand disciple of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and a member of the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. May all the previous acharyas and the ocean of mercy, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, shower you with their grace. I hereby joyfully award you the name Atulya Harinam Das. Certificate. No refunds. Hare Krishna. Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna.
If for some reason you're leaving, please do so quietly. And you want to leave, you are, please do so quietly. So each of the initiates, first order of business, please change your neckpiece. Sadhu Vrindana, keep your neckpiece on. Someone can assist you. If you need help, the person next to you can help you with changing your neckpiece.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Now we will have garlands placed on each of the initiates. Before we begin, we would like to ask each of the four of you that are receiving your Gayatri mantra, your second initiation, to please stand. Please stand. I think we can give them a little bit of blessings now. Each of the initiates in front of you have a Achman cup. Take the spoon from that cup with water in it in the left hand, and into the palm of your right hand place that water and repeat after me. Om Keshavaya Namaha. Om Keshavaya Namaha. Raise your hand. Second time, sink the spoon into the palm. Om Narayanaya Namaha. Om Narayanaya Namaha. Third time. Om Madhavaya Namaha. Om Madhavaya Namaha. And rinsing. Set the spoon down. And repeat after me. Om Pavitra Pavitrova Sarvavashtam Nopiva Yasmaret Pundarikaksham Savayam Shri Vishnu Again, repeat the procedure. Spoon in the left hand, palm full of water to the right hand. Om Keshavaya Namaha. Om Keshavaya Namaha. And sing. Second time. Into the palm. Om Narayanaya Namaha. Om Narayanaya Namaha. And sing. The third time. Into the palm. Om Madhavaya Namaha. Om Madhavaya Namaha. Repeat after me. Om Pavitra Pavitrova Sarvavashtam Gatopiva Yasmaret Pundarikaksham Savayam Antara Suchi Shri Vishnu Vishnu, and the third time. Take a spoonful of water into the palm. Om Keshavaya Namaha. Om Keshavaya Namaha. Second time. Om Narayanaya Namaha. Om Narayanaya Namaha. Rinse. Third time. Om Madhavaya Namaha. Om Madhavaya Namaha. Rinse. Place the spoon down and repeat a final time. Om Pavitra Pavitra Savavashtam Gato Piva Yasmarat Pundari Kaksham Savayam Yantaram Suchi Sri Vishnu Vishnu Sri Vishnu Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Okay, so we will recite the Mangalacharna, and I will recite it word by word, and you'll repeat after me. At the end of each mantra, we'll say Swaha 3 times, and each time you'll take between the middle 2 fingers and the thumb, grains, and throw them into the fire. Those of you in the back row, take advantage of the spaces between those in front of you to make it to the fire. Om Ajnana Dasya Janam Jana Shalakaya Raksu Udmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Maha Swaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Pitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Damayam Dadati Swaparantikam Swaha Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Parakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadvarutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Veshakavitam Scha Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Giriraj Swami Iti Namane Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Sachinandana Swami Iti Namane Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Indradumna Swami Iti Namane Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Vaisesika Dasa Adhikara Iti Namane Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Ratu Prabhu Iti Namane Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Acharine Nirvisesha Sunyavari Askaja Ishatarine Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Iti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Shri Varshavanavi Devi Daitaya Padhahi Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Dahine Prabhave Madhujvala Premagya Shirupanoga Bhaktina Shri Gaura Gaura Shakti Vigrahaya Namaste Gauravani Murtaye Vedarine Vanuga Garudha Vasidanta Namine Namo Gurkishoraya Shatpairabhya Murtaye Vipralamba Sambodhi Parambujaya Namaha Bhakti Vinodaya Satchidananda Namine Gaura Shakti Rupaya Manuga Radayate Swaha Gaura Nirmama Nirgeshtam Satcha Sajjana Priya Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Sri Jagannataya Te Namaha Vanchakalpa Rupyascha Kripasindu Vaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Goda Krishna Namaha Krishna Bhaktarupa Sarupakam Bhaktavataryam Jakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam Swaha Hare Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopikakanta Radhakanta Namostute Jayakam Surato Angor Mama Manda Matirkati Matsavashya Karambojo Radha Madanamohano Vrindaranya Kalpan Prabudha Shriman Ratnagaram Shamasano Srimad Radha Srila Govinda Devo Krishna Devi Sevyamano Swarami Shriman Rasa Sarambi Vamsivata Dashita Harshan Menusvanar Gopir Gopinata Sarestuna Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Shabano Te Devi Ganamami Hari Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari Gauda Bhakta Vrinda Swaha Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Hare, Swaha, 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 Gahinam Kriyahinam Bhaktihinam Janadamai, Pujagamai Evam Bhagavan Saraswami, Swaha, 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 Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Swaha, Swaha. So now, this is the final offering we make into the fire. And this offering will be made with your bananas. You'll place them between your folded palms. And at this time, you will request from the fire what it is you're seeking from this ceremony, from this performance of this jaga. What is that? That is Guru Nishta and Prem Bhakti. So this will be when you offer your banana into the fire at this time. That will be your request. So everyone can please stand, including the initiates. After we make this final offering, then you'll come in one by one and place your banana into the fire. Om Brahmanya Devaya Brahmana Jagadhitaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,
Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Jai Krishna,
Natari Armarman,